Welcome back to Recoup. Today is Monday, February 16th, 2026. I'm Sweets. This is Sid. This is our Monday weekly check-in where we talk about what we're going to be working on this week. To kick it off, we're going to change it a little bit and have Sid talk to us about the challenges he's been running into and what he's trying to merge and the challenges he's running into with testing it. So Sid, what are you working on and what are the blockers you've been hitting without sharing in env variables?
Currently working on a render video API endpoint so that we can create content with motion renderer. Worked locally, putting it on the API and testing it has been I've been getting blocked by my environment variable setup in my local project. Partially because I think historically I need to reset up my environment variable setup locally to match what you have or what you recommend.
Tried hitting the API endpoint that you have deployed to a preview deployment?
Yes.
What's the error you get when you try to hit the deployed version?
The error is, well, hold on, let me see. It works on production.
That's probably where you're getting the privy error, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you're just telling Opus to test and you're giving Opus the link, the preview link? Or is Opus searching the GitHub PR and getting the link itself?
Searching.
So it's doing it all on its own. You're just telling it, use the preview deployment, and it's getting the info that it needs.
Let me ask, what preview and URL did you use?
And did you use an API key or?
I used my API key that I made, but not in production, I guess is that what it is, and not in.
The API key you gave it was from the production environment, not the test environment?
Was from it was just like a general API key that I have.
That's the biggest difference we got to make is when you're testing the preview deployment. Like you said, the privy secrets are different in prod versus testing. The reason why the privy keys are different is on prod, we whitelist what domains we want to be allowed to sign in. That's a requirement Privy gives us to make sure that we're not letting any domain, including localhost, sign in with our production privy keys. And so our dev environment does allow any domain so that when Vercel deploys a new random domain, we're still able to test and use privy and it all works. And so the difference is because those have different privy secrets, you pass in an API key, Privy then parses it using the secret that we have and says, hey, that doesn't match. And so on our preview deployments for local and for preview deployments, we need to use an API key from our test deployment of Recoup chat. And then on prod, you use your prod API keys.
So to regenerate a new API key on every preview branch or every preview deployment? Or is it?
You can use the same preview API key across all of them. I typically lose it just in how much we're merging. And so I typically do go back to test-recoup.vercel.app/keys. And then I'll delete my old key and generate a new one. But if you store it in your notes or somewhere where you'll remember it, you can use that same key for all of your testing on all your preview deployments.
Okay, go. All right, cool. That's a good, that will unblock me for this first one.
Do you have other notes? You were mentioning that it feels like it's a shit. I think you used the word shit show for our environments. Is that just your environment variables, or are you observing a problem in how our architecture is set up that you want to call out for how we could be improving our dev experience for both you and Opus and other devs building on top of Recoup?
Let me fix the environment variables and get it more aligned with everything before I answer that.
That's fair. On your side, what else do you want to talk about? Are there other? I've been kind of offline for 7 days now. So, anything else you've been working on, or things that have been happening that you want to call out that to get me and everybody else updated?
Fun stuff. All right. So I did 3 things over the weekend that is probably a good idea to talk about. The first thing I did was built a automated content creation and posting pipeline for Gatsby Grace project. I did it locally. I added a .records folder in our mono repo locally, just so like I could also see what was going on there, but built it inside .records artists Gatsby Grace, so it had all of her context that I have locally, because I have like a much broader local Gatsby Grace context directory, which I've been working on to kind of use for later purposes for the sandboxing. But let me show you what that looks like. So, and then I spent the first day working on it specifically for Gatsby. Let me share. And then the second day, I started to migrate it out of the Gatsby folder into entire screen. Let me see, share. So if you see here, I migrated it out. So I have a content creation app now. And this is what it does. So there's a templates folder. Inside the templates folder, there's a couple different directories. We'll take artist caption bedroom for one. Inside the artist caption bedroom, this is a template that you can use. For example, references. I just grabbed some images from other artists on TikTok of like example outputs that I want. So like this is like Somber's post, right? And so it's just like impromptu artist shot and a caption across it. So I have a template there for artist caption. I also have another template for artists outside, which you can see. It's just like a different style with the artist outside.
Same artist for all the references.
For this version, yeah, I just use the same artist. But and then I have an artist caption stage, so it's like another version of like images, reference, and this is like on stage.
This artist has a lot of content for you to pull from.
Yeah, and it's good too because it's like simple content. It's just like the song plays in the background. It's whatever. It's either like him in his bedroom, him outside, like, and he just kind of stands there, and then like a lyric or like a caption that like encapsulates the song. So it's like a good, easy thing to like reference. So, so the template picks. You can pick a template, and then what it does is it pulls from in this scenario, it pulls from my Gatsby Grace artist project in context. And in context, I have images, and then I have like these images of Gatsby that I have. So I load this and the reference and a prompt, and I call fal. And the reason why I'm calling fal is because I could choose different models and just test it, etc. And it calls fal and says like replace this image of the reference artist with this girl. And so it creates that reference image, and then I pass it into VO3. And in VO3, it turns it into a video. And then I pass it to Remotion to add the captions and crop the video for a social. And what's cool is that the way I set it up is that inside of Gatsby's context, or inside Gatsby's repo, I'll call it, I have a songs library. So I have all of the MP3s here. And what it does is whenever you add an MP3 to the song, it transcribes the lyrics, and then I have a model running to identify the best clip or the best lyric for socials, or like to like break that into clips. And then when it creates the remotion and adds the song on top of the generated video, it goes through all of the song lyrics randomly and picks one, like a hook from, a random song that it already generated the clip for, pulls in that context, pulls in that snippet of the MP3, and then calls another LLM to say, create a caption that would work for this based on the lyrics, based on what it knows about my artist. And so the final result, I know that was like a lot. Oh, thank God this was done.
We're building okay.
Yeah, right. Good job. Actually, I can go here. Let me go here. So anyways, 2 nights ago, I ran it, and I ran it on a cron where every 15 minutes it would run this. So at the end of the night, I had 30 pieces of content, all with the song and the clips and everything. And I used an app called PostBridge to schedule stuff because I was running into issues with Composio, because I didn't technically need an agent to be able to like call tools to be able to like do it all. Like I just needed like a mass kind of like poster and scheduler. So I used PostBridge instead. And so what we're now getting is automated content on the timeline. And like, here's an example post. Oh, you can't see it, really? Let me go.
Are you liking your own stuff, or is that an organic like?
Wait, can you hear it?
I hear like sounds like TV static.
Oh, well, it's the song playing. I gotta like share with audio, but like the song plays, it gives it throws a caption on. It does a different caption here based on this caption, and it knows what it's always posting, so it doesn't like when it scrolls through references and captions and everything. It like has context around like not to make the same thing twice until it like loops around. So, anyways, it's like. I'm excited about it because over the weekend, I now literally am able to, like, I have 30 posts scheduled over the next like 10 days, like 3 a day on autopilot. And whenever I want to run this again, like I can run it. I also like set it up where like I can see exactly how much it costs per run for us. And if I want to switch a model, it'll like pull in the model costs so I can see like top of the line models and everything, cost like $1.50 or something per thing. And then like if we switch VO3 to like a different model, it cuts costs in half, etc. And then the other thing I did was I set it so that you can turn on lip sync, and it changes the model from VO3 to audio to video LTX, and passes the audio first. And so it can also create like these same things, but her doing lip sync. The reason why I don't have a demo, or maybe I have it somewhere, but it's because the video quality isn't as good as VO 3.1 yet. But I'm sure over time it will get. So it's like it's the beginning stages of like a content creation pipeline. And now the key is like I have it with Gatsby, and I have like the ability to like do 3 different templates. How do we grow this so that it's like you can pass in with the same app, you can pass in or connect it to any artist's directory, and it'll just replace Gatsby images with like, Sweetman images or whatever it is, and still run the same thing. So it'll be a picture of Sweets doing like this, and based on Sweets lyrics in his songs, and put his songs on instead. So long story short, I was working on that this weekend, as well as finally a templatized version of what an artist's repo could look like. So I started with Gatsby, but like organizing it in a way that like makes the most sense for how this app would work, and also how we can think through sandboxes. So like I set it up where there's like a releases folder, a context folder with audience, brand, identity, memory, etc. a content system with like images, videos. So like just like kind of building out like a templatized version for artist repos, and like a general README to explain how do artist repos work. So ideally, when you the agent will have context of how to update an artist's directory, because everything's like, you know, organized very like the same for every artist. And then last but not least, I added the skills repo, the skills mono repo to our mono repo, and made it in a way where there are currently 3 public skills and 1 private skill. And the way I'm setting up our repo or our skills is they are their own mono, or they're their own repos in the Recoupable GitHub, but they all go into this mono repo. Some are set to private, some are set to public. And then I have in the Git modules, it to not install private repos on install. You have to like manually ask for it to install private repos. And if you try to install a private repo and you don't have access to it, like via Git, it'll just give you an error. That way we can keep all of our skills, external and internal, in the same mono repo, but we can share like recoupable /skills. Like everybody, you can go, you know, we open source our skills, but we can also keep like recoupable brand guidelines in our skills, and we can use them, but nobody else downloads recoupable brand guidelines when they download the repo. So just kind of setting that. I sent a PR request for that. All right, those are my big updates. I'll stop sharing.
First questions. What happens? I'm sorry. Is there an NPX? Can I use the skills CLI to install all the skills from the mono repo in one command, or do I need to go skill by skill to install them into my local bash system?
I believe you can do the mono repo. I have yet to try it. No, you can. I did try it. You can do NPX skills add recoupable /skills, and it will download all of the public skills.
So it goes into those submodules and downloads the submodules.
I believe so.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, no, not a blocker. I was just curious if you had tested and if it does work that way.
Test it on your end and see, because like I've been messing with it, so maybe like locally I had stuff, and you know, test and see what you get.
Next question I had was about the Remotion. Remotion is what added those captions onto the Instagram videos you made?
Yeah.
Okay. For Remotion, I tested, well, I saw your run of the test of the API, and my question was, where is the actual video file? How do I see the video file being output by that API call?
It currently is in, that's a good question. It currently, I have to check, because the way I ran it locally was outside of was not doing it through the API. And it returned it back. I just had to return it back into Gatsby Grace's output folder.
Storing it in like the local folder, the local file directory. Okay.
Exactly. Now, I mean, like we have to think through that. If we want, again, it goes back to like where we're at with sandboxes, and like, do we want to save those things back into the artist sandbox? Like I currently have it set up like that, where like any social stuff goes back into the in this case, the local folder for Gatsby, but like it could be just going back into the sandbox. So like, again, going back to like, the big question mark about our sandboxes is like, for me, when do we use sandboxes versus when do we use chat?
Yep.
And when do we store locally versus when do we store on a database?
Great. Let's continue off of that. Onto my side, would you mind sharing your screen and going to chat.recoupable.com?
Yeah, let me do it right now.
And then just tell the chat to run the ls command in a sandbox.
Oh, it's backwards again.
Interesting. It's creating sandboxes, but it's not. Interesting. Trying it on my side. I've only been testing on the preview deployment. I merged it when we started this call, testing it right now on my side. Please run. Is it just it or is it me? It's likely everybody. So let me test. And if it doesn't work here, I'll send you the preview link where it was working. And I'm using Gemini 3 Pro, which might make a difference. But ideally not. You're using what looks like a better model. Okay, for me it's working. Why isn't it working for you? Why didn't it work for you? Can you do a new copy whatever your initial prompt was and go to a new chat and try it again? If this doesn't work, I'll take you to a different place.
Should I stay in a org and this artist, or should I go a personal?
Good. Go to personal. Switch over to personal. That could also.
Because I was having some issue with org.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying
I've only
to do
been testing it personal as well, so that's a good call. It might be trying to use org stuff that I haven't necessarily tested enough.
I think we need to do what you suggested about
the API keys.
Yeah, the API keys being the whole thing.
Okay, still not doing it. Okay, can you update the URL and go to /sandboxes? Plural. Yep, there you go. And now send the same prompt here. Oh, I'm sorry. Just interesting. So you're just getting a 400 for all sandboxes. Can you open up DevTools here and let me see what network's coming back with? We'll go to the network tab and go to the network tab. There we go. Yeah, now just click the create button again. Okay, click on what's status code for. Okay, so it's not telling us anything. Let me check inside of the logs. Deployments, main, switch over to API. Deployments, main, logs. Is it going to tell me anything else in here? I see 400 for, but no logs. Okay, so for one other test, can Sid go directly to developers.recoupable.com and hit the API endpoint and get it to work? And then, yeah, you can close out of this and then go to the API reference. Find, I think all the way down at the bottom, run sandbox or post sandbox, create sandbox. Yeah, and then click try it. Let's see if it auto-populates a key. Okay, you don't have a key. Can you create a temporary key that you'll delete after this call? Just chat.recoupable.com/keys. Yeah, I recommend writing delete for the key. That way you know. And just click send for now. I think this one's going to work fine. No, you're getting, okay, so you're not even able to call create sandboxes for some reason. Let me delete the Supabase just in case you might have a weird state in the database with all me doing the testing. I'm going to just delete all the records in there so that you and I and everybody else are doing sandboxes from scratch. Can you Well, once I get in here, I'll ask for the first 3 and the last 3 of your account ID so that I can see if you do have a record in here.
I'll stop sharing and just share my account ID.
Copy. Supabase is loading slowly. Recoupable table editor. And then instead of table editor, we want account snapshots. Sid just sent it to me. Switch over in Slack to the Recoup org. Scroll down to Sid. 848. 848. Yep, I do see you in here. It looks like you do have a snapshot, but null GitHub. I'm just going to delete all the records. And now can you try either one of those again? Any of those again? I recommend the normal chat because that's the state we want to work.
What do you want me to say?
Run the ls command in a sandbox. There we go. Okay, so it looks like the database was a weird state. From here, it's gonna, so this is like you had mentioned before, you want to be able to just spin up tasks and then be able to keep doing the chat. So there's a task running right now. You've got the run ID there. It's running in the background. You can continue the conversation if you want. And this UI component is going to continue to update as that task is running. If you want, you can click on the name of that task and it'll open up in a new tab this visualization of the task, the title up top. So now you can look at the task itself and then watch it run here, or you can watch it run in your chat. You can also ask for the status if you want the LLM to have context of where it's at. You can say, what's the status of this task? And it'll show the exact same UI component and also have the context of those logs that you see on the screen, but the chat has not yet updated to include. So you now have a sandbox. It ran it. So I ask it, what was the status of that run? So it shows the exact same UI. We're following dry principle here. And then it's also telling you what the output was. In this case, you have a GitHub repository with both a README and an opencode.json file. So you now have a sandbox. You now have a GitHub repository. It set it up with a README and a JSON file. You were able to do all of that using tools that's on our MCP server and accessible on chat.recoupable.com. With that, I'm going to read the MIQ that you've given me that I'm orienting my current build around, and then I'll open it up for feedback. The question that Sid asked was, when can Alexis use sandboxes and the release management skill in her org for releases from her email? You can right now send an email using the same prompt you did, and because it uses the same tools, it'll create the sandbox from the email. So we have sandbox and we have email. Alexis can do that. What we are missing is using the release management skill in the org for releases, and then any feedback that you have. But I think, when can Alexis use sandboxes and the release management skill for releases from her email? Those 5 points. Alexis can use sandboxes from her email. We are missing the skills being set up and being able to use it for her releases. Thoughts, feedback, questions about the current state of sandboxes as I am continuing to try to get us to the point of saying today for the question.
What do you need from me to help sandboxes be more opinionated? I have the Gatsby folder. We can literally use that as the reference. Like, we're releasing on Friday. I have that. Like, we can start running this in production. The question becomes, if I again, it just goes back to the org and shared repos, etc.
Yep.
Is it going to be my sandbox and Alexis won't be able to use it, and we have to set up her sandbox as well, or is there a shared sandbox or whatever for artists, or is it a shared branch, or different branches and shared main? Like those are all the big questions. But I think that's going back to the main question. The main question for you is, what do you need from me to help this go from conceptual to like, here we have an artist, they're releasing, we're dropping stuff over the next week. I have a team that we're trying to share all the stuff with. So we have like the general seeds of what we would need sandboxes to do across the team. Where do you want me to save that stuff?
It's great that you have already been working through it locally for your own needs. I think that is awesome that you're doing more experimental instead of just theoretical for the structure of the folders. Can you share your screen and go to Recoupable GitHub to talk about how you can help in a very concrete way? Okay. Can you go, yeah, Recoupable? And then go to the list of repositories. So first you see Sid Swift has a private repository that was created. That's your personal GitHub for your account ID. You can go into that and you can see the files that are already in there, just verifying that it's not hallucinating. You do in fact have the exact repo with the exact files it said you have. Let's go back to the repos. And from here, the main repo I think you'd want to modify, if you scroll down, we have a skill for setup sandbox right there. That skill, I'm using skills to set up the sandbox because I would rather modify a markdown file than make it complex. So if you click into that markdown file, you'll see where I'm going towards for setting up a sandbox. It's using the account ID, so that way we're setting it up for a specific account. Then it is listing the orgs in step 2. It's listing out the orgs that I have access to using my account ID to get my orgs. Then it's for each of the orgs, it's getting the artist inside of my orgs. Then it creates the folder structure that you see there, where it's orgs, org name, artist, artist name, and then it's creating a recoup.md file inside of each of those artist folders. That's what it should be doing. As you see in your own GitHub, we're not there yet, and that's where I need to go now. What I did today is I made it so that you can build it inside of Recoup chat, and inside of emails, you can trigger it. Now I need to actually get this setup skill to run. So immediately after this call for the rest of the day today, I'm going to be working on getting this skill to run. That way, when Sid asks run ls, you can see that it's your full org list and all of your artist lists or whatever the structure is that's in here. Sid, your question was, how can you help? I recommend you modify this skill so that instead of it throwing the structure in step 4, where it's saying the exact structure of those folders, I recommend you start to update the skill with how you actually want the architecture of Sid's personal or Alexis's personal GitHub repository to be structured. You can see it's using the Recoup CLI here. It's using Recoup orgs list. Any of our API endpoints should work in the CLI. If there's an API endpoint that you need in order to get the file structure that you're building for Gatsby, let me know and I will update the CLI to include any missing API endpoints. TLDR, I think you update this skill to make any notes that you think to go from a fresh bash environment with no file system to the file system that you have for Gatsby. That best represents how you want your file system to look, how you want Alexis's file system to look, and how we want everybody's file system to look. If we want a standard, or if you want based off of orgs, we can update this skill, which is just simple human readable markdown, to have whatever logic you want for, okay, we're going from a fresh sandbox to a file system that Alexis, Sid, and anybody else can now navigate that is built for people building their own record label. What are your thoughts on using this skill as your entry point to being able to set up sandboxes and get the architecture for Alexis, yourself, and everybody else building on Recoup for sandboxes?
Okay. Thoughts. I like it. I can update it. My question is, the main customers that we are building for currently will only need, unless I'm wrong here, and you could correct me, to set up this once. And we like, there's a couple customers, it's not so like, are we over engineering the setup when we could just do that manually for our customers and then build for them versus trying to perfect the initial skills or the initial setup? Do you understand what I'm saying? But although I will admit that I agree that like we need to get it so that it pulls all artists, it sets it all up correctly. So like, no, okay, we can go that route. I guess. Okay. I will modify this and work on this, and we can touch base on Wednesday and see where we're at. The big the second question for me is like shared environment or shared file systems across org artist. If I am on an email chain with Alexis and I say, Recoup, update my release schedule with the information that Alexis just provided, and she's on chain with me, and she sees that, and then she goes and says, hey, what's the release schedule to Recoup? We're going to have two different contexts, right? Because they're two separate or they're two separate repos. And so I guess that's my big question is collaborative file systems. What's the best architecture to move this from working individually versus working across your team? Because that's the big hurdle that Alexis is facing right now. And everybody I'm talking to is like the collaboration and communication amongst everybody. They all want a single source of truth. I'll stop sharing there.
I agree. That's a great question. I don't know if I have the answer for it yet. I think we still have. I think you're thinking 10 steps ahead, which is great. We need to be focusing our attention there so that we don't go down wrong paths. The point that I'm at is I still need Sid to be able to put in a prompt into the normal chat site or into email and say, add this, like you say, add this file to my sandbox, and it does that. If you do that right now, it's not doing it perfectly. So I challenge you to start doing that. You now have a sandbox and you can see how it works in chat. So try that prompt. Try saying, write a release file, update it with this, and see if it's doing it. And then if it's not, tell me, hey, it's not doing this. That way I have exact prompts that I can be testing to get it to work. And then
should I manually update my repo as well?
I think you should only be updating the repo you just saw that has your account ID in it.
Yeah.
I think you should only be updating that using Recoup chat or by sending emails to agent@recoupable.com. I don't think you should pull that locally and use Opus because our customers won't be pulling it locally and using Opus.
Okay. All right. Like I was just thinking, like, even just adding you said you're going to do that next is add the release management skill.
Noting that the release management skill is important needs to go into the setup skill. That way, every single person gets that skill in their sandbox.
Oh, so it's like it's basically in the setup, say install this skill, and then give it the install, and then let it run. That's install.
Correct.
Based on that skill. Okay, got it. Oh, interesting. I spun up my sandbox. Is that my sandbox now that will where it's not going, like, am I going to delete that sandbox if I want to test the setup sandbox again?
Yes, and you can do that on /sandboxes. There's a trash can button, chat.recoupable.com /sandboxes. There's a trash can button. I should have had you do that instead of me manually going into Supabase. When you click that trash can, it'll do the same thing I did by going into Supabase. It'll delete it, and then the next time you spin up a sandbox, it'll run. It should. Currently, it's not. At the end of the day today, what I'm working on now is getting it to run that setup, whatever's inside of the skill.
Okay, and then I have another question for you. I have the Gatsby Grace repo in locally.
Locally, you said?
Yeah, I have it locally right now. Mm-hmm. Is there any, do you want me? Do you want me to put it anywhere on GitHub so you have it as a reference? Do you want me to add it to the mono repo? Do you want me to add it anywhere so you can use it as a reference, or are you not there yet?
If you were going to put it anywhere, I would put it inside of the setup sandbox skill. That way, because that's the context where we need it. You're talking about we want to set up accounts and set up the file system. That's all should be in the skill. So yeah, it would be good for me to reference it. If I need to reference it for my dev work, the LLM should also have it for when it's setting up sandboxes.
Okay, so say use this GitHub repo as a reference. I don't need to do that then.
You can put it in the same GitHub repo as the skill, because the skill right now is just a skill.md file. You could put the...
Yeah, but I think I should create a templatized, now I'm thinking about it, like a artist template repo.
With placeholders instead of Gatsby coded stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Just so that's like a...
It's more generic.
Yeah, it's more generic. It's not, the LLM doesn't get confused. Because the interesting whole part of it, the whole thing is setting it up in a way like where like, and we're gonna have to, we'll have to spend more time eventually going through this, but like, if we set it up correctly, the users should be able to use their artist directory to build apps on top of it by just pointing to that as context, right? And like, that would be like the chef's kiss if anybody can just go, like Recoup does the heavy lifting of all of that, setting up context, and then like, you can use Recoup, but you could also just like use any agent to be like, make me a website, and it goes to that repo, and it knows, like the way I set it up, it's like it knows what project you're working on, you know, all the context, all the songs for that project. It'll pass it like a completed thing. So I basically like mirrored how Claudebot is doing their memory system and all of that, but for the artist project. So like it has a memory file. It has like an era file, so you know like what era the artist is in for this like, you know, this rollout and shit. All right, cool. So yeah, I'll set up that like a general template. And then the big question mark that I have next, which we don't need to talk about it yet because I'm still just going to roll out as is, but looping in how I have like the create content app and the content posting app as like separate apps. If I wanted to give all Recoupable users the ability to use that, obviously, one, they would need an artist directory in the sandbox, because like that's like a prerequisite for it to work. But once they have that, what is the ideal way of running that app? Is it... Yeah, that's my question. Is it putting that app, like, yeah, what's the ideal way of running apps that we build?
I think there's two main ways that we're building stuff like workflows, either a skill or Recoup CLI. And that's up to how you think it gets triggered, either triggered as a skill in natural language saying use this skill, and then it runs through that markdown file and executes everything. Or if it's it's a kind of hard-coded workflow that we want to be triggered by an API endpoint, and that gets added into the Recoup CLI. And then they just
like create content, and then it's the CLI that does it. Yeah, I like that, because in this specific scenario, it needs to like deterministically run a script to kick off the run, and it needs to ask the user some questions. Which template do you want to use? Are we in the right, like, is this the right release that we're in? Like, so like there are a couple of questions that it's going to ask, and then it needs to run like the specific script to like actually do the run, or like a set of a cross. So yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But yeah, all right. So it's just moving that to like the CLI.
Those are the two things I'm leaning towards for what we're building now. Is instead of adding, right now we're at I believe 49 tools inside of our MCP server. I'm leaning more and more towards less
MCP, more sandbox CLI.
More skills and CLI. Skills are markdown files of human readable instructions, and CLI is a very fixed way to interact with our backend system.
I really like that. It leaves a lot of less room for error.
And more ability for less context rot, because we can expand our CLI. And if we have 100,000 tools inside of our CLI, an LLM knows how to parse commands from a CLI without overwhelming its context window, as opposed to using MCP and getting back 1,000 tools and that just overwhelming the context window. CLI is a much more fundamental level of the internet. And so I think we could feel more comfortable throwing as many things into our CLI as we want and trusting that an LLM can parse whatever tool we need to get out of there without thinking about orchestration levels and routing agents.
I agree. And it's moving towards a world. Well, I mean, that's an interesting way you put it then, because in that scenario, then I know we're trying to move towards a less UI, more email, SMS world, but the customer's not always there yet. And so thinking through like what the sandbox experience is UI from a UI perspective, I think is something I'm going to need to think.
What are your thoughts on the current sandbox UI implementation of the tool, and then you click on the title and you view the task that was spun up in the sandbox session?
I mean, it's a good start. I like the concept of like seeing it spun up. I think like figuring out how to keep that in without a separate window would be great. Thinking about like, should we just create like, we don't have Canvas implemented, but like, you know, the way Manus does it is it just like literally like splits chat Canvas, and the user can see what's going on in the sandbox, as well as kind of continue the chat on the other side. So like there's that.
How would the Canvas be different from the tool component?
Because the user, the tool, how can I put it? The tool, it's just like the UI, they can kind of follow along with what it's doing without having to scroll back up, right? Like if it's browsing the internet, they see it browsing the internet, but they can also chat with it on the side. It's still browsing the internet. They still see it happening over here, right? So like,
okay.
I don't know if we're there yet.
On the content being displayed from the sandbox, it's more of the positioning of where the human can see what the sandbox is doing. On the
Correct.
Canvas makes it more.
Mainly, I mean, even before that, I would say the main difference for me currently, even for users, is like the users understood the file system previously, and they're still trying to use it even though we don't have the tools anymore. It's just all saving to knowledge base now. And so my thought is like making it so that like you have like you use the AI elements file system thing. I saw you have that. We could move that to the files tab.
Yep.
That they can open it and see what's there, and like that way there's at least some kind of understanding. They can click in and see. They can manually see things, like they can make the choice without having to call the LLM and say like, what is the release schedule? What's in my sandbox? What is,
Can you share one more thing for me on your screen? Can you go to, or I guess you don't necessarily need to share it. Can you go to chat.recoupable.com/sandboxes again and see if you do see that file explorer element from AI Elements on that screen?
The repository files?
Yeah, you should see the README and the opencode.json. Do you see them there?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and like what I'm thinking is like, if a user has a sandbox, or if they're in an org sandbox, whenever we get there, but whatever. But like, just throw this under files, right? It's just, literally its cursor. Fucking
getting your screen on screen.
Or you're not sharing the cursor? You can't see the cursor one?
You just started sharing, and I don't think I clicked it fast enough, or my screen's lagging. One of the two.
Right here, let me stop. But it's the same. It's the same concept as. Oh no, entire screen. Yes.
I just toggled, so you should be able to. Looks like it's coming in now. Oh no, you stopped sharing.
What?
Or if you just started again, I might just be behind you. I just clicked add to screen of the latest thing that you did. Gonna try to manually do it if I'm behind.
There you go.
Think we see you now?
Yeah.
Great.
So this.
So yeah, awesome.
Yeah. This go right here. Like I'm just singing, like literally like this. They don't need to see it, but like artists, like whatever their shit has, all the artists, etc. And that way they can go in and they can literally see everything. Like,
this is familiar. This is the same as what they have on their local Mac, so it's not like we're reteaching them a new file system setup.
Exactly. And like the way we had file systems before, like we can borrow from Google Image or from Google Drive as well. Like if they click into files instead of opening it, like give them something that's familiar. The difference is that it's now on GitHub and it's a fucking code base instead of just a drive.
Are you okay for now? Because you mentioned that some people are using it, and I agree. I don't necessarily want to break it, but I do want to start showing it, like you just said, the new file system. Are you okay if I put the new file system to append it to the existing content for now until we feel comfortable with deprecating the existing file system UI? So I'm saying either above or below the existing file system that you built here on the same page, showing the file explorer that you saw when you went over to sandboxes.
I think you're okay.
Or just keep it on sandboxes for now until it's in a cleaner state for us to do a bigger migration.
So when we moved, like, it's a good question, because when we moved to the new API, we didn't move the file system tools. Or when you I think it was when you deleted the local or the non MCP stuff.
Yeah, I likely deleted the tool. You're right. I deleted probably all the files tools.
Yeah, so there's currently no files tools. So all of the tasks that were saying save to files and whatever are now calling the
knowledge base tools.
The knowledge base tool. Exactly. So like if I go into like my Gatsby thing, well, previously I did, like I paused all of it, but like I went to Gatsby and like there was like 20 new knowledge base files that were all just like we're supposed to be writing to files. So like it technically is broken right now.
Should I just start brute forcing it then and like clear out whatever's on this files page and go with our file explorer and start building up from there instead of trying to manage something that we don't even have tools for?
Correct. I mean, I'm yes.
I won't delete anything that you have in the database. So if you have database structures for how people are storing their files, I won't touch any of that. Just on this page, I'll scrap whatever content is already there, and we'll show that file tree and start building off of files are being represented from GitHub. And the GitHub is our new source of truth versus wherever you were storing files and the file structures before. Brute force is okay. On this page, am I approved to show the GitHub file tree and build up from there?
Yeah. Let's do it.
If you have second thoughts, let me know and I'll pause, but that should be a relatively easy change, and I'll start it before end of day today.
I'm going to go back to Let's see if anybody complains.
Okay.
Let's see if anybody's like, yo, where'd all my files go? And then we're like, oh shit, okay, files is important. Let's fucking the big question, again, going back to like what the customer's currently aware of is that files changes based on artists selected.
Okay.
Is what they're learned on. I know that our sandbox doesn't currently have that set up.
Correct.
So like we could make it so that if the once the sandbox is set up correctly and they see artists and then all of their artists, it'll kind of be self-explanatory, and then they won't need to ask any questions. So I'm leaning towards like, yeah, it's like get the skill set up correctly, and then once the skill's set up correctly and it's creating the sandbox for the user, it should be a self-explanatory brute force change.
And I'm leaning toward, okay, so you're saying before I update the files tab, we should get the setup stuff in first.
Yeah, get it so that it says the skill creates correctly, which I could work on today. Well, probably tomorrow I'll work on that where, oh no, I have jury duty tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
No, not
Public servant Sid.
Fucking, I'm going to try to go in there and get out of it as quick as possible. But
you're guilty.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll try to work on the skill time. I mean, I already have it's very close. It's very close. So I can get one version of it done by tonight. So yeah, just do it, man. We'll see what happens. It's like worst case scenario, people yell at us, and then we know it's important.
Fix it. I'll open up a revert in that case so that if they do yell, it should be a one-click revert it back, and then I'll move slower.
All right, cool. Yeah, and then big question mark is org shared. That's the big question mark. And if we can crack it, man, if we can crack it. It's funny too, because there's a part of me that's like, man, it would be so dope if we could rely on Git and PRs, but like our customers don't understand those concepts, but like the agent does. And so like there is a world in which like a customer's sandbox is a branch of the org's, and so they can change their sandbox, but like in order to get, for example, a customer, a person updates their own sandbox, but if the information is wrong, or I keep going back to like if the Gatsby Grace project is perfect, right? Like we were going to release it a week before, so the release date was set in one thing, but then like stuff happened and then we had to change the release date, right? And so like, should we let the agent just change the release date across the org, or should that be something that is a PR request, and then like a review agent makes sure that the PR coming in is like, yes, this is something that we should update to across the entire org. It's a fun, it's a fun thought process, but I know I'm getting far down the rabbit hole. So
I'm trying to prevent myself from talking about it more because my head's spinning in 5 different directions.
Yeah. All right, cool. Good call. All right, I'll see you on Wednesday. Glad you're back.
Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you on, sounds like Wednesday after Sid's jury duty.
I hope, fingers crossed, man. I hope I get out of this shit.
And I'm just going to click N because my screen is lagging. Are you able to click the N button, or is it only on my side?
It's only on your side.
Command G.